And we came with a mindset, nothing is impossible.
The race to cure cancer has become humanity's boldest scientific promise. Behind glass walls and sterile light, new drugs are announced as miracles of precision, faster, safer, smarter. Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and others are betting everything on a new era where no disease seems impossible.
We are ready to provide a solution. We want to save the world again.
One of the most important time points is when you are in the phase 1, phase 2, and you have to decide whether a drug should be developed in phase 3. And here you really have to look at it from all angles and really understand where it could help patients and how it could be used in clinical practice. And the way you do this is really by bringing people together and really, brainstorming and debating and discussing the data and the various opinions. But also beyond that, I think you need to create the right kind of culture. One of the issues we had was, we had experienced a few setbacks in development. We had 3 products that failed in late-stage development in 2007-8 or something like that. And that happens. Other companies have experienced that. But at the time, the management, the company decided, okay, well, we're not going to fail again. And so, when you tell people we're not going to fail, you never fail in phase 3 because you never move anything in phase 3. You got to really create an environment where people feel comfortable taking some educated risks.
But in the rush to save lives, something else is accelerating: approvals, profits, and expectations.
The cancer research ecosystem and the regulatory system has tremendous pressure to move clinical trials through quickly and approve medicines on perhaps uncertain evidence because there's massive financial forces behind that.
His health was really deteriorating.
In 2014, Rachel Coven's husband, Ken, was diagnosed in his late 40s with adenocarcinoma. In his case, a cancer that developed at the junction of his esophagus and stomach. After a successful round of chemotherapy a year later, the cancer spread to his brain. His doctors tried a second round of treatment.
He ended up getting an infection in his intestines and spent several weeks in the hospital. It was very frightening. Really, in hindsight, he would have been better off not having that second line of treatment.
Half of all approved cancer drugs show no proof they actually extend life. And yet, each new release moves billions of dollars on the markets.
We can make it possible. That's a mindset that we can use again, not to find the solution for COVID, but to find the solution for cancer.
The question is no longer can we cure cancer, it's what are we curing it for? In laboratories across the world, the fight against cancer has become a race. Companies like Pfizer and AstraZeneca promise a new generation of therapies, guided by artificial intelligence, powered by speed, and built on hope.
We know that each of us has different manifestations of the way a tumor is going to grow or spread, and also how it's going to respond to treatment. And we need to be able to bring the best treatment to each patient at that particular moment in time, and AI is enabling us to do that.
Pfizer calls it the power of speed, a new intelligence that promises to find what humans can't see. AI will shorten discovery, expand data, and turn uncertainty to opportunity. AstraZeneca, under Pascal Soriot, calls it a new dawn: collaboration, innovation, and courage, words that sound like medicine themselves.
The issue for Astra is that there's only so much cash, and as we know, that is one of the key questions around the company.
Let's go more into that, though. So why is that a question?
Well, pharmaceutical companies are historically great cash generators. There's 2 reasons people have historically invested in pharmaceutical companies. One is the fact that they're driven by demographics and they are a defensive sector, normally. And the other one is that they throw off tons of cash. So where the cash flow becomes a bit thinner, that becomes a question. And of course, there's not much you can do when three, say roughly $5 billion products at the same time are going off patent, and products at the end of their lives are very profitable because they don't need much detailing.
But in the race for discovery, risk becomes routine.
There's a long history at the FDA leading up to how they regulate cancer drugs today. In the 80s and 90s, the FDA was under heavy criticism from HIV activists for not moving quickly enough on getting potentially life-saving HIV drugs to the market when HIV was a death sentence. And that led to a new process called accelerated approval, where the FDA essentially would approve drugs based on preliminary data that hadn't yet been fully proven. So over the last 20 years, the FDA has heavily employed this accelerated approval process to approve many cancer drugs.
The manufacturers do not like research work or policy work related to using lower dosages. It's abundantly clear. It's quite simple. If you give lower dosages, there's less revenue. The primary aim of a manufacturer is to increase revenue for their shareholders. We showed that you can use essentially 25% less drug, get the same output, and save tons and tons of healthcare resources.
Because for every miracle drug that makes headlines, hundreds vanish in silence.
We're actually funding many drugs that really are what I would say are poor value and not cost effective. One of the things that I focused on over the past 7 or 8 years is trying to figure out if there are ways that we can reduce the expenditure but maintain the health outcomes and the effect. So can you give a lower dosage? Can you use the drug for a reduced amount of time but still get the same health benefit? We also tried to implement it here in Israel, but when we started to implement it, there was tremendous pushback, and it led to a major storm here in the process of policy implementation.
And every acceleration hides a cost that data alone can't measure. The promise of faster cures has created something else, a faster business.
Borla points out that Pfizer is investing twice what it made off of COVID treatments to address the scourge of cancer, and it will need to replicate some version of that COVID success in redirecting its efforts. After its stock price surged from that success, shares are down nearly 50% since December 2021, leading activist investor Starboard to take a $1 billion stake in Pfizer.
Each breakthrough lifts not only the hopes of patients, but the profits of its makers.
He has a nose for a drug. When we showed him the data for Lynparza, when we showed him the data for Tagrisso, he realized that these things could be medicines, and he helped us pull those things through the pipeline into late-stage development and ultimately to launch into patients. That takes courage, but it also helps us accelerate and push things faster. That was tremendous. So things that were originally blocked were now unblocked and we're moving really fast through the pipeline.
Every new therapy arrives with a higher price and a lower certainty of how well it truly works.
So we found in our reporting that over the last 2 decades, the median initial price of a cancer drug in the U.S. has quadrupled. That comes even as there is no correlation particularly between those prices and whether they improve survival or not. Some of these so-called immune therapy drugs, which are some of the most important targeted cancer drugs approved in the last 10 to 15 years, are some of the biggest sellers in the world. If these ultra-low doses turn out to work, it could be akin to getting HIV drugs to Africa for the first time, allowing a large segment of the world that don't have full access or can't afford some of these life-extending drugs. What our reporting found was that fully half of approved cancer drugs don't have proof they extend survival for any of their approved uses. We're spending enormous amounts of money on drugs that we don't really know how much they're actually going to help patients.
In countries like India, doctors face a different equation.
कॅन्सर आहे. इंडिया देशामध्ये गरिबी एवढी आहे की भरपूर लोक गरीब आहे आणि ते करू शकत नाही हॉस्पिटलमध्ये म्हणून ते लपून ठेवतात. पण आपली कॅपॅसिटी नाही आहे की आपण हे देऊ शकतो आणि आपली फॅमिलीचं पुढे आपल्याला पुढे बघायचं मुलांचं शिक्षण आहे, घर आहे, घराचं भाडं आहे, सर्व पोचायचं म्हणून ते लपून ठेवतात.
Champanakar's doctor agreed to waive the fees for the medication. He prescribed a treatment that, on paper, shouldn't have worked, 1/6 of the recommended dose.
So they cut the doses, sometimes to 1/6, and the results still work.
आता फर्स्ट डोस मला दिला तर मला जरासं रिलॅक्स वाटतंय. पहिले इथे पेन होत होतं, आता पेन होत काल 5 yesterday I go ना तर इकडे पहिलं पेन होत होतं. नसा असं जाम वाटत होतं, हात दिसला होत नव्हतं, असं मान पण खराब होत नव्हती. आता जरा पहिल्या डोसपासून मला तर फ्री वाटते. आता इकडे तर पेन कमी झालेलं आहे म्हणून मला असं वाटतं की या औषधाने मला चांगला इफेक्ट पडून चांगलं होईलच असं वाटतं मला.
Shampanakar is not alone. Dr. Kumar Prabhash works at Tata Memorial Centre, which registers 50,000 new cancer patients every year. 25% of their patients have head or neck cancers, yet few could afford a full dose of immunotherapy.
Some of the drugs are very good, and we know they are very useful for our patients. And it is very disheartening for clinicians to see that I wish this treatment was there for this patient. These cancer patients, if they become sick, it doesn't only affect the patient, it affects the whole family. So we finally took the lowest dose which was there and which was where the patients had responses in the phase 1. We thought that is something which majority of our population can afford it.
In a clinical trial, Dr. Prabhash and his team added a low-dose immunotherapy to the standard treatment for head and neck cancer in India. The combination more than doubled the percentage of patients still alive 1 year later. In a country where there are often more stories about negative healthcare outcomes than positive ones, doctors may have found a new solution born out of desperation.
Almost 3 to 4% of our patients could take this full-dose immunotherapy, and it looks like almost 60% of our patients can take the same treatment if the dose changes. Almost 2/3 of cancers is happening in developing country. It may end up saving billions of dollars.
If you give lower dosages, there's less revenue, says oncologist Daniel Goldstein, but patients live longer. Around the world, medicine is split between those who can pay for time and those who run out of it.
And when it comes to building new markets, AstraZeneca, like many, is looking to China and its increasingly affluent patients.
When did you first begin to see China as a key market?
Almost immediately, because, as I started, I really had to look for areas where we could grow. I had to look for the strengths of the company and number one, where we could rebuild the pipeline, how we could rebuild the pipeline, but also looking at this massive patent expiry that we were facing. Where could I find growth? And China was one of those.
The race to cure cancer is no longer about science. It's about who gets to survive.
And every morning, whoever got up first had to run and say to the other person, I love you, infinity. It was a competition every morning. So when I asked them what they thought would be a good thing to put on their dad's gravestone, they said, love you, infinity. So that's what we did. His memory lives on.
After decades of fighting cancer like a war, a new kind of medicine begins to ask a quieter question. Not how to destroy the body's enemies, but how to rebuild its balance. In France, doctors are exploring the most unexpected ally, bacteria. Inside the human gut lives a universe of cells that may hold the key to re-educating the immune system.
At Nice University Hospital in the south of France, Dr. Losky cares for patients with blood cancer.
Cancer remains a huge burden, but among them, the hematological malignancies, which I'm a specialist of, I have seen their incidence increasing over the years.
Globally, 1 in 5 people will develop cancer in their lifetime.
For decades, patients have been treated with chemotherapy, an approach that not only destroys cancer cells, but ravages the immune system too. But new research has revealed the microbiome, a collection of bacteria, viruses, parasites and fungi in the human gut, may hold the key to understanding better ways of treating and even preventing cancer. While only partially understood, it's the largest component of the immune system, containing up to 80% of our immune cells.
It's a very exciting field right now in cancer treatment because we've discovered that there is a very big link between our gut and the composition of the gut microbiota and how the immune system behaves.
Meaning the state of our gut has a direct impact on our overall health.
In a healthy adult, the gut microbiome is like a 26-foot-long mini Amazon rainforest. It's flourishing, full of life. providing diverse functions to sustain the body. But when it gets damaged and depleted of healthy microbes, it can turn into a wasteland, more like the Sahara Desert. It gets ulcerated and inflamed, and that depletes the body of energy, making it vulnerable to infection.
One of the most promising applications of microbiome science is something called fecal microbiota transplant, or FMT, which involves taking the waste of healthy donors and transferring it into patients. This fecal-based therapy created by MAT Pharma was specifically designed to treat graft versus host disease. It aimed to restore beneficial microbes and repair the gut, helping to rebuild her immune system.
This is not a treatment that attacks, but one that teaches. Not a race for speed, but a return to patience.
Here in this sterile lab, gallons of raw fecal germs are processed and turned into medicine. The team can produce 4,000 litres of fecal microbes from less than a teaspoon of liquid stool, enough to potentially treat thousands of patients.
To manufacture our main asset, MAT13, we start with fecal matter from healthy donors. It means having no presence of more than 50 different pathogens, but also we monitor their health with physician consults from time to time, just to be sure there is nothing that would affect the quality of the microbial community.
In 2021, Anne Maldzonski received a devastating diagnosis, a rare blood cancer that took her to the edge of life. Yet nearly 4 years later, an experimental treatment has granted her the gift of time. It's a remedy found in an unlikely place, the intricate ecosystem of the human gut that's part of what's known as the microbiome.
Perhaps the future of oncology lies not in conquering the body, but in learning to live with it. After years of fighting, medicine begins to listen again.
Thousands of miles away in Hong Kong, Professor Siyu Ng runs a lab working to turn gut bacteria into drugs to treat a variety of illnesses, including COVID, Parkinson's, and mental health diseases. She believes the microbiome could revolutionize human health.
I think the microbiome probably is the last human organ that is currently under active research. It's like a supra organ, or I would regard it as our second brain.
Yet despite its relatively recent research, fecal-based medicines have a surprisingly long history.
The first ever documentation of using microbiome to treat human diseases was back in the 4th century in ancient China. There was a very famous Chinese physician called Li Shizhen. He's really documented the use of fecal matter, described as the golden yellow soup, to treat people with food poisoning, because in those days, antibiotics just did not exist.
Researchers have been looking for other clinical applications for fecal microbiota transplants, especially since doctors in the Netherlands showed in 2013 that donor feces could successfully treat a diarrhea-causing condition commonly known as C. diff. But gaining regulatory approval for other treatments has so far been elusive. Only 2 treatments have been approved by the US Food and Drug Administration so far.
Science keeps running, faster, smarter, richer. Every company claims to hold the key to the future, but the more we chase secure, the more we forget what it was for.
Something fell out. What is that? I wonder what your birthday present is.
It's for the Taylor Swift. I want to.
Over the last couple of decades, the median number of people in trials for cancer drugs seeking to win approval has shrunk dramatically.
One of the advocacy initiatives that we've launched to try to tackle some of these issues in the last couple of years is called Common Sense Oncology. And this is really a global grassroots coalition. We want to raise the bar and be very clear that we're identifying treatments that make a real difference in the lives of patients.
And you'll get the one drug, which we're doing today, plus the new drug, probably about half the dose of the new drug.
There's a growing recognition that perhaps some of these treatments are not as helpful as we might expect or hope, and certainly not as helpful as patients deserve. Could they be taking away quality of life and making people sick without actually helping them live longer lives?
Technology promised to give us control over disease, over time, over fear. But control was never the same as understanding.
There are so many happy memories in here. and so many fun things that we did together as a family. I wanted the kids to have a book of photos and memories of their dad. My dad loved my mom. My dad was brave. I love you. My dad loved me too. My daughter has said, "Mommy, I wish Daddy picked the last few months just to focus on us and not focus so much on treatment." He missed out on a lot of the day-to-day things of just being at home and just enjoying what little time he had left. Science in general does a really good job of quantifying time to progression of disease, time for survival, but they don't do a good job describing the quality of that time within someone's life.
The race goes on. The companies keep building faster and louder than before, but somewhere in the quiet corners of science, another story is beginning to grow. The microbiome is not a miracle. It's a reminder that healing begins when life listens to itself. Maybe that's where the future really begins, not in the race, but in the silence after it.